10 years ago, during a wet night in Cardiff, PC Gwen Cooper had her eyes opened to a larger world.
Did you ever hear of Torchwood?
Helmed by Captain Jack Harkness, Torchwood works outside the government and beyond the police, fighting for the future on behalf of the human race. After all, the 21st century is where everything changes, and you've got to be ready. I've heard some people say some bad things about Torchwood over the years, but honestly, when I look at it, I see not only some great science fiction, but great characters, great storytelling, and ultimately a great new take on the Doctor Who universe. This was the first series to ask the question, who protects the Earth when the Doctor isn't there? Unless you include K9 and company. But not many people do. And while the series started off a bit shaky, it eventually fell into its own groove. And we're going to celebrate Torchwood's 10th anniversary by looking at 10 of my favourite episodes. Before we begin, I'd like to point out two things. Firstly, some of these entries have multiple episodes in one slot. I tried to avoid this, but I feel if there's an overarching story, then having multiple episodes in one slot is warranted. Secondly, and sadly, no episodes of Miracle Day made it onto this list. It isn't that I don't enjoy the series, or the ideas, or the characters. It's just I don't rate any of the episodes as highly as I do the ones I have on this list. I may go more in depth at a later point. But for right now, here are my top 10 favourite Torchwood episodes. Number 10. Sleeper. When a burglary turns into a slaughter, Torchwood are called in to investigate. They meet Beth, a seemingly innocent victim and the only suspect for the murder of the house invaders. She can't remember anything and insists that she didn't kill them. As the team try to get to the bottom of it, they discover that Beth isn't as normal as she thinks. She has impenetrable skin, has never been ill, and causes short-range EMP bursts. She is a sleeper agent, sent by an alien race to infiltrate the planet and act as a first line of attack for an unnamed alien force. And she's not alone. As the other sleeper agents are activated, the team must scramble together with the help of Beth before the world is left wide open for invasion. A really great premise and a rather thrilling set of circumstances. It's a nice little mystery that escalates really well. This is also a great episode that shows off just how each member of the team works off one another, and every character has their moments. I also really enjoy the interrogation scene. You can almost cut the tension with a knife. Or a giant blade arm. A really enjoyable episode, and one that deserves far more credit.
Let's all have sex. And I thought the end of the world couldn't get any worse.
Number 9.
Snap.
Fragments. Investigating an abandoned warehouse, the team are trapped and on the verge of death. In their final moments, we discover just what made them join the team. Simply put, I enjoy this episode not only for the backstories, but as a good reflection on just how far these characters have come over the first two series. Not to mention more exploration into Jack's past, which is always welcomed. I mean, who can resist John Barrowman and mutton chops?
Put that down before someone gets
Apart from her. Speaking of which, this really makes me want to have an anthology series detailing Jack's life through the 20th century. We get tidbits here and there over the years, but almost all of it is still a mystery. I'd actually quite like to know what Jack's previous team was like, the ones going about in the 1990s. I imagine it being very Buffy the Vampire Slayer-like. An interesting little story of the days long gone.
Who are you? I'm Torchwood.
Number 8.
I'm Captain... You go first.
I'm Captain Jack Harkness, 133rd Squadron.
Captain Jack Harkness. For those who don't know, Cardiff is positioned on a rift in time and space. Sometimes it drops things off and it's Torchwood's job to monitor it. Portals in time and space can crop up anywhere and everywhere, leading to God knows when. In this particular instance, Jack and Toshiko are taken and trapped in 1941 at the height of the Blitz, and it's up to Gwen, Owen and Yanto to try and rescue them. While in the past, Jack and Tosh meet someone called Captain Jack Harkness. Doctor Who fans will remember that Jack used to be a con man, and simply used this man's name in order to blend in. The night they've arrived is the night before he dies. This episode has some great drama, some great revelations, and outstanding performances all around. I always like it when action series like Torchwood have episodes where there's no real bad guy. It's a nice little breather in an otherwise action-packed show. A real highlight is the conflict between Owen and Yanto as they try to get the rift machine working, and reflect on what they've both lost over the course of the series. Not to mention it sets up the Series 1 final, which is great in its own right. But there's something about the dimly lit wartime Cardiff nights that just spells romance. Let history never forget the name, Captain Jack Harkness.
To Captain Jack.
To Captain Jack.
Number 7.
When did you leave?
About half an hour ago.
Which date?
Today, December the 18th.
Which year? Which year?
Which year? I need to know.
Out of time.
1953.
On a similar level to the last entry, a plane lands in modern-day Cardiff carrying 3 people who went missing in 1953. Torchwood doesn't know how to send them back, so they try to integrate them into modern society. Some take it well, others not so much. This is your classic man out of time story, but shows 3 distinct different outcomes. The one who adapts, the one who doesn't, and the one who defies. Another great character episode, and technically a Christmas episode to boot. Again, there's no distinct villain of the episode, but that's replaced with some really hard-hitting drama.
There's no puzzle to solve, no enemy to fight. Just 3 lost people who've somehow become our responsibility.
I strangely find myself drawn to the eldest of the 3 characters. He really stands out and gives a fantastic performance. It's also technically an Owen episode, who spends most of the time getting to know the pilot. Owen's been a bit of a dick for most of the series, but here we see his softer side to him, and he comes out of the episode the most broken. This shows real character depth, and rightfully deserves its place on this list. Number 6. Adam.
Who the hell is this?
It won't surprise people if I say this is the episode where a memory parasite infiltrates the team and replaces memories, and... It's strange how this has become a sci-fi trope, because as a story element, it doesn't work. We know right from the get-go that this person shouldn't be there because we've seen the show before, and we know they weren't there. So it all comes down to how the main cast realise this and how they solve it. That being said, this is a great example on how to do it. This parasite has to delete memories in order to implant new ones, so the characters' personalities change. As an example, Owen becomes more meek and introverted, while Tosh becomes a lot more confident in herself and arguably happier. So to discover that Adam has simply implanted these memories is heartbreaking. There's also a great scene where Adam convinces Yanto he's a murderer, and it is brilliantly put together. And of course, how can we not mention Jack's origin? This is the youngest we've ever seen Jack, and we learn just how insane his life has always been. Fantastically performed by John Barrowman, and genuinely moving. Props should go to Adam's actor Brian Dick, who gave a very believable performance when he was acting like a long-time team member. The final confrontation between him and Jack is particularly chilling. An interesting little episode you won't soon forget.
I let go of his hand! It was the worst day of my life.
Number 5. Children of Earth. As in, all of it. All 5 episodes. Upon reflection, this is probably my favourite piece of Doctor Who media in existence. It's short, it's sweet, it's got drama, it's got action, it pays off for watching the first 2 series, it takes the team to their limit and beyond. It's brilliant science fiction, it's political drama, it has consequences, and it hits a home run in every single episode. One ordinary day, every child around the world stops and speaks in unison, saying the words,
Oh my god!
the government tries to take down Torchwood, blowing up the hub, ordering a manhunt on the team, and capturing Jack. All in an attempt to cover up a mysterious deal that went down in the 1960s. I don't want to give too much away because this series is something you need to see to truly appreciate. Peter Capaldi guest stars as John Frobisher, an ordinary politician and family man who is at the forefront of the action, even if he doesn't want to. This wasn't too long after his first appearance in Doctor Who as the Roman Caecilius, who the Doctor saves in Pompeii. Head writer of both series at the time, Russell T Davies, was very aware that Peter had only just starred in Doctor Who when they cast him for Torchwood, and has said that he likes to think that John is a descendant of Caecilius, and that the events of Children of Earth is time catching up with him, which I think is kind of brilliant. For a while, this was the end of Torchwood, and while it's bittersweet, I feel it's a much better ending than Miracle Day, especially considering that ended with a cliffhanger. The stakes have never been higher, and the ramifications of this event should have been felt across the whole Whoniverse. But that's a video for another day. Simply put, when the world's children are at stake, you better expect hell.
We are coming.
Number 4. Adrift. As previously mentioned, the rift drops things off from other worlds and times. In this episode, we discover it also takes things as well. Gwen learns that a teenage boy has been missing for months. Upon inspection, she believes the rift picked him up and took him away. When she asks Jack if she can look into similar cases, he tells her to drop it. Investigating anyway, she discovers more and more disappearances, similar to that of the first case. Eventually discovering the truth, Gwen wishes she hadn't. This is a really hard-hitting episode, with some spectacular acting all around, including special guest Ruth Jones as the mother. It's also nice to see Gwen reconnect with her old police partner Andy Davison, a long-suffering side character who gives a rather nice speech about how much Gwen has evolved since joining Torchwood. Of course, Gwen is on point in this episode, showcasing why she joined the team to begin with. A heartbreaking episode with a rather hollow victory, if you can even call it that. In the end, there's no monsters, no villains to stop, just souls lost in the dark. Number 3. Countryside. When a series of disappearances take place outside of Cardiff, the team is sent to investigate, only to meet something far more terrifying than anything they could have ever imagined. A thrilling, gruesome tale to the end. This is the first time Torchwood came into its own. Certainly not for the faint-of-hearted, but damn, it deserves its place on this list. It's also kind of the first time the team really feel like a team. They've got each other's backs, regardless of how they feel for one another. I always find myself on the edge of my seat whenever I watch this, even now when I know the outcome, because I know the end result is far much more scary than anything that comes out of that rift. Fantastic, believable acting all around, and definitely one of Jack's best entrances in the whole series. Only in the bloody countryside.
And what is that smell?
That would be grass.
It's disgusting.
Number 2.
Suddenly, in an underground mortuary on a wet night in Cardiff, I hear the song of a nightingale.
Reset, Dead Man Walking, and A Day in the Death.
Miss Martha Jones.
a mini-saga halfway through Series 2 which brought Martha Jones into the world of Torchwood and changed the series as we knew it. In Part 1, a new drug has been hitting the streets, causing UNIT to team up with Torchwood to track it down. Who do they send? But none other than Martha Jones. They crack down on the case, but not everything goes to plan. In Part 2, the team find themselves recovering from the end of the previous episode, forced to extreme measures and dealing with the consequences. Part 3 is all about adaptation, adjusting to life after... well... spoilers. This is essentially the story of Owen Harper, featuring some of Bern Gorman's best performances in the whole series, and an absolute joy to watch. Martha is also really well used in this. At this point she had only just become a fully fledged Doctor, and had only just joined UNIT, something we would later see in full effect in Doctor Who, but this was a great taster. There's also some really iconic imagery in this miniseries that inspires me to this day, and some truly heartbreaking moments scattered throughout. The ending of Dead Man Walking is spectacular and brilliantly put together, probably my favourite scene in the whole of Torchwood and maybe even Doctor Who at this rate. I even referenced a scene from Day and the Death in a video I did last year. If you're a Doctor Who fan who wants to get into Torchwood, I recommend this as a taster. It's Torchwood at its best, and sets you up for the kind of wild ride you can expect by watching this show. But before we reach our top pick, here are a few honourable mentions. From Out of the Rain, a kind of sort of ghost story about a carnival that steals people's souls. Kind of an interesting premise, but not one I'd leap to watch again. Random Shoes. An annoying guy with a bad haircut is killed and tries to find out how he was killed and reflects on his life. An otherwise harmless episode with some great stuff, but the lead isn't interesting enough and makes the episode just drag on and on. To the Last Man. Another Man Out of Time story and an episode I do genuinely enjoy, but just didn't quite make the cut. Which makes me sad, because this is a great episode. And without further ado, my number one favourite Torchwood episode is... Something Borrowed.
Oh.
So... Gwen gets pregnant with an alien baby the night before her wedding. And its mother is coming to rip her up. That alone sells the episode. Simply put, this is a fun, entertaining sci-fi romp, with characters we've come to love dealing with a shape changer and Gwen and Reese's extended family. I cannot express how much I love this episode. I haven't mentioned Reese before now because, well, he hasn't been that important. And that's what makes him important. He's the anchor stopping Gwen from warping into this heartless alien hunter like the rest of the Torchwood team. She has a life and truly loves Reese. Only recently discovering that Gwen hunts aliens, Reese has had to put up with a lot of shit over the past two series, and here, on their wedding day, it all comes to a head. Outstanding performances all around, a brilliant mix of comedic and action-orientated scenes, fantastic casting for the extended family, of particular note should be Gwen's mum and dad, who are far too adorable. The culmination of everything that's come before it, it's just brilliant. For years, this has always been my favourite episode, and while Dead Man Walking has slowly been creeping its way up, nothing, and I mean nothing, beats Reese wielding a chainsaw protecting his wife. And I have to say, it's nice to see the whole team just be happy for once. Best wedding ever!
That's what I love about Torchwood. By day, chasing the scum of the universe. Come midnight, you're the wedding fairy.
And those are my top 10 favourite Torchwood episodes. 10 episodes for 10 years. Rumours are floating about that John Barrowman is trying to get Torchwood back on the air, and after the conclusion of Miracle Day and the 5-year wait, I'd certainly like to know what happens. All we can do is hope that he's successful. 'Cause sure, Torchwood isn't perfect, but it does have heart, and does give an interesting perspective on the Doctor Who universe. In fact, you could say it began the Doctor Who expanded universe. Before class was in session and Sarah Jane had her adventures, there was Torchwood, protecting the Earth. And it all began 10 years ago on a wet night in Cardiff. Did your favourite episode feature on this list? Leave a comment below and let me know. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and now on Snapchat. I update it fairly regularly. I've been Michael Crewe from Crewe on the Sofa, but you already knew that.